I do this shit every stream, dude. My window work. What? Do you forget my streams? Sheet breaks all the time. So I'm gonna take that as it's working then, right? Where the frick am I at again? Oh yeah, I'm finding that one beach. It's up here, right? Or is this where that chick's at? Oh yeah, that's where that chick's at. And then she's over there. Alright, so just making sure everything's working, right? We're good? Let me check my death counter. Is that working? Hell yeah. Okay, death counter's working. Sick. Alright, we're golden. Let's go. It's a good start to the week, dude. Freaking everything is not broken. This is great. Alright, so I got a couple questions. You gotta catch me up here. Is it required for me to kill a speech? The speech is optional, right? I feel like it is because she doesn't attack me every time I walk past her, unless I talk to her. And also, I feel like I know the answer to what she asked, but apparently I don't, because she freaking kills my ass. It's a boss fight? Yeah, but like, doesn't it correspond to a freaking quest? Because she asked something about where this dumb beach is at, and I swear to God, I freaking... I found out where he's at. Didn't tell me where he is. Bitch, I don't know where the frick he is. Fuck this bitch, I ain't fighting her.
You pretend not to see
Fuck
me.
you, bitch. Fuck you too, bitch. Let's kill this dumb bitch first. Wait, how do you get this guy? Oh, he's there. Fuck that bitch. This guy's on my mind. I mean, I don't really remember the fight, but I feel like he. Ah! Oh. Ah! Ah! Ow! See now. Ah! Okay, so like, what am I supposed to do here when you regen your sheet in like 5 milliseconds, huh? What do you expect me to do? That is not a thrusting attack. I don't know how many times I gotta tell you that sheet. Okay, already starting off good. Oh, that is though. Okay. Oh, I thought I could beat you. Ah! Okay. What is this? I pressed. Which I pressed. Did I not press? I didn't press shift. All right. I'm not dying this early off. All right. Give me a chance here, please. Okay, look, this is the first boss fight of the stream. You gotta give me a couple minutes to warm up here, alright? Why does your sheet like go away so quick? You see how fast that sheet's going? Okay, can't interrupt that. Good no. Well, look, my guy, you can't keep getting me caught in these freaking corners. It's not fair, right? Oh, I could have freaking counted that. Oops. I'm not gonna talk about it. I knew I wasn't dead. I was trying to block. Okay. I hate this guy. Only fought this guy what, like 15 minutes last stream? I hate him. frick, now I gotta walk all this way. I don't want to kill. Why is there 2 bosses back to back that are a bunch of sheep? Also, how did I kill those monkeys too? Last stream was wild. I don't know how I completed that sheep. I really don't want to fight this check, bro.
You pretend not to see me. Oh, you too.
Oh.
How dare you?
You can't stop that. I don't know if you're aware of that. Okay, you can't stop that attack. That's double. Ah! God damn, why do you have so much freaking range, my guy? Oh, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know how to do that. See, why does your sheet go away so quick? That's some freaking bullshit, my guy. How the How do... You know what? I'm not gonna say sheep. I'm not saying sheep. No, no, no. Every single one of these bosses has all been nothing but regenerating in 2 milliseconds. Boot. You can't dodge that. Oh, jump. Get out. Okay. Alright. Have you been in the house yet before the corrupted monk boss fight? Been in the house. Been in the house. Been in the house. Have I been in the house? I feel like I have. No, in my life, probably no. Actually, I might not have. I think I didn't know you can go in it. Oh, no, I'm thinking of a different house. Wait, can you even go in this house? Oh no, I tried to go in it, but I couldn't figure out how to get in that beach. You know what? Did I check the right side? You know what? I'm actually going. Oh, I didn't go that way. Should go in there, might find something useful. Is this how you get over here? Well, I should never been this way before. Have I? You get inside from the bottom? Like bottom over here, or like? Oh, is there like a little pocket in the? Ah ha ha! See, if I would, can you crouch? See now, if I would have used my eyeballs, I would have found that sheet, but obviously I didn't. Okay, hold on a second. Give me 1 second here. Did I pass it up? Oh, I'm supposed to go here. What the fuck? Well, that was for a second. Alright. God damn, bro. Is that the freaking troll? Jesus Christ. These items right here? Oh, they are. Oh, dude, red lump? Hell yeah. What the frick is that? Sure.
Hello? Hey, what are you doing?
Hey, what's up, Panda? What's up, man?
That's good. It's melting inside, but it's not enough. Keep pouring. Pour until it brims. Come forth, my
Oh wait, this is the place that's.
nectar
This is from the town that's all fucked up, right?
as citizens of the palace.
Yeah, everybody here is fucked up.
One and all. Please accept us.
What's up, Panda? How's it going, man?
as your humble servants.
My village? Yeah, I think so. What's that?
Oh, the cup has run dry.
The
But
cup? Are you even
this
using a
won't
cup?
do.
Oh, you are?
It's
Okay.
too dilute. Refuses to dissolve
Good, how are you?
completely.
I'm doing alright.
Unfit to be citizens
Today
of
was
the
a very
palace.
interesting day, but
Oh,
it's good.
waters of the palace, fill our cups once more.
Did you have a good weekend?
Fill them to the brim, to the brim.
To the blame. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Oh, hell yeah. Confrated that I don't use. Oh, 100% somewhere here. 100%. There's. Oh, dude. I freaking knew it. Oh, hell yeah. Got anything else? No? Okay. Cool. I think I didn't see that sheet. Oh, for some reason I thought that was like a sword or something. Oh, hell yeah. Monet. Give me the Monet. Monet. That's frickin' it. You can get on top of the house now with the gravel? Oh. I knew that. See, what would I do with that shit bagel? Now, this looks. Oh, this is a trap. Oh. Oh! Oh, sick. Okay. What do I do without you, bagel? I mean, then again, I feel like I didn't explore the house that much to realize if there was a way to get in, but. Thanks, sir. Okay, so does it matter the order and who we kill? Do I have to fight the monk first, or do I have to fight the chick first, or can I fight the chick first and the monk, or monk and the chick? Cause I don't want to fight that chick. You can do whatever you want. I mean, eventually I gotta kill both, alright? But the monk is necessary. Okay. Are we here to enjoy? Chick is whatever, but you should do her anyways. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna put all the pressure on Panda. Alright, Panda, what do you think, my guy? Should I fight the chick first, or should I fight the monk first? The stream is in your hands. Could take me 3 hours. You can just do her whenever you get frustrated. I won't ever do another boss. Yeah, but then I'm gonna forget the moves, and then I'm just gonna be back and forth. I think I did the Elden Ring. I didn't really look at that too well. Check is unnecessary. Well, yeah, but I mean, I still want to do it though. I'm already getting a hint that monk first. Because there's a way I can avoid from having to fight the chick, right? Just by knowing the information she wants. That was worth it. That was worth it. It's 100% worth it. You can always fight her? Oh, okay. Alright, what the frick? I have to have some type of strategy here. What strategies? I don't want that attack at all on it. Ah! Oh. I don't know what moves I should be parrying, which ones I should be dodging. I don't know how to do that. This is going pretty well. Okay, I like this. Okay, I don't like the range you have though. What? Okay, 5-10 heal. Wait. Oh. Ah. Oh. Okay. I like the strategy, and I don't know what kind of. Wait, I don't like. Wait. I don't have the. I don't have the. Oh, I wasn't drinking potions the whole time. Well, now I just fucked up my whole freaking parry bar. Son of a bitch. Every attack, my sheet goes up like 7,000, dude. Oh. Oh. I don't know why I tried that. It's not worth parrying that. Ah. Ooh. Okay, run. Oh, okay, well, now let's do it. It's not smart. Well, I don't know why I decided to heal right there. Oh, God. Okay. Every move, dude. Okay, fuck that move. I don't like that one. Oh, that is not the one I wanted to happen. Okay. No. Ah. What? I didn't dodge that? Oh, I thought that was the other one. Damn it. Can you like not, please, sir? Ah! Okay. What's this one? Ah! Yeah! Oh, okay. I thought that was the thrust. I thought that was the thrusting attack. No. Okay, this is probably the best shot we got here. That is not the thrusting attack. Or, I don't know if you guys remember that. Oh! Okay, how much was that? Like 1/4? Woo! Use the dust and snap seed? See, now I could do that. What? Nick is playing Dark Souls again. He's playing with that parry. Bro, there's no chance you can parry because that beats the freaking one hit. My bar goes woo, skyrockets, dude.
How dare you hide Lord Sakusa from...
Didn't I kill your ass? See, I could use consumables, right? But who needs that? Yeah, I don't think we're going for the the parry game on this one because ow, that's why. Let's go for the health. Okay, never mind. What? That's not the thrusting. I don't know why I keep getting those mixed up. That, of course, when I... Okay, no, I love that. Of course, as soon as I freaking try and go for a runaway, you do the freaking thrusting attack. Excuse me. I didn't press that sheet. I'd like a refund, please. No, I can't use sheet kills. I don't like the fuck that attack. Oh, okay, I forgot the last one's a lot. Okay. I didn't add a death before I had no one. Okay, I can explain that one. So, yeah, I suck. No, Chucka, I didn't want to press frickin' S. That is not the thrusting attack. Alright. That's the thrusting attack. Haha. Oh, I freaking dodged that shit. What? Not too much, but I thought that was a dodge. Did that hit me from over there? Oh God! No! 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 I can explain that one. I can explain. Oh, that's a double attack. Okay, that's good to know. Oh, okay, I didn't mean to jump that. I guess I did. Bro, I'm not trying to go around him, I'm trying to freaking get this stupid counter on that beach, but it never happens. What? Freaking damn, homie. Oh, Jesus. Okay, at least, okay, I'm kind of glad to do that, I'm not gonna lie. Beach, get up! Beach! That's not the freaking thrusting attack. Why can't you use the freaking thrusting attack, my guy? Okay. When I got down, she freaking regen too much sheet. There's no shot I would have did it because she had time to frickin' her posure went down. Posture, posure, schmosure, closure. I don't know why I try to do that every time I hit it. Yes.
How dare you hide Lord Sakusa from me?
I might as well just reset now. I don't know why I did that. I think the problem is I'm trying to pay attention to my bar thing, not like See now right here I shouldn't attack him, but I want to. Because if I don't attack you for 5 more seconds then your sheet regens, then I'm food. Like that. What? That's not the thrusting attack. That's not the thrusting attack. Dodge that. That's not the thrusting attack. I want to. Oh! That was kind of nasty. I wasn't. That's not the thrusting attack. Can you frickin' do the thrusting attack for God's sake? All that time wasted. Now your sheet's all the way down there again. Damn. I'll have the full frickin' bar for this. No, that's not the thing I want. That's not what I want. Okay. That is also not what I want. Boo. I'm the one getting. How does that work out? Not in my favor. See. I'm paying attention to my posture, but apparently I just suck still. Yeah, isn't Lord Sako, what the frick, the dude that always asks about the music or whatever, or is that someone else? Right there would have been a good time to run away to generation. That is so. Wow. I don't know how that worked out. I have the wrong thing on. Haha! Oh, you're thinking I healed. I did not heal. How many are you gonna do on one? How many are you throwing at one time, my guy? What the fuck? Oh, that's a charge up attack. That's a charge up attack. Who's the food boy? I don't remember who that is. Hey, what's up, Darkness? What's up, man? You need to use Snap Seed against him, then Stealth Death Blow. They'll kill him in no time. See, I could, but I could. But what's the fun of that, right? Like, who wouldn't want to see someone struggle, right? That's like peak stream content right there. I'm missing out on. I have like a thing when it comes to like using what's it called? Like items and shit, kind of like in all the Dark Souls, including this, where it's just like I just don't. And honestly, it's not even the reason like I'm lazy to use it. It's just like there's so many to remember on which one's which. I freaking can't remember. Ow. Well, nothing's easy though with me, dude. Oh, see, now I feel like I should have at least stopped him from doing that, alright? I feel like that was valid. I feel like that should stop. Ow! I don't have the bar for this. I do have the bar, but I still got picked up. I chose a really, really bad time to heal. That was really bad time to heal. I don't know why I went there. I don't know why I did that. Let's not talk about it. But yeah, welcome to Stream Darkness. If you couldn't already tell, yeah, I suck. So if you want sucky content, I guess you came to the right place. On accident, I like playing games hard mode. Not much. Get your up stuck always. That's a triple. Haha. I don't know if you guys know that or not. See, right there. What could I have done, right? I had to get some bar back, right? And what do you know? I still got a problem. That's what I want to do. That is not what I want to do. See, I could play not even attack him. I could just play the freaking. Can you get up? I don't like this. I do not like this corner. Ah! I tried to parry there. I don't know if you could have noticed. I tried. I didn't look like I did, but I promise you I did.
Not to see me.
Also, can we talk about how badass that boss fight was of Kenshiro? How the frick I say it? That was a pretty good boss fight. All these boss fights are actually pretty badass. I'm surprised that some of them don't take as like much longer. Like that double ape one after the original ape one. That one. Like should took me a hell long time, but it surprised me a lot. Can't stagger that. Huh? That's not a oh, okay. Usually, can you get the fuck up? Maybe like that. Why do I choose the most horrible time to heal every single time? That is not a death. What happened? I killed that. That's not a. Alright, trust. So is that one. That's double. Oh! That's. Parry. Or thrust. That's a double. I just said that. Nice job, Nick. Congratulations. I am gonna die. I am gonna die. Look away from me, Reach. Reach, you only have 3/4? That's not a thrust. It's not a thrust. Try not to go corners? See, the thing is, I don't even try to. It just happens. Like, we just, like, slowly migrate over there. And it's like, can we not?
You pretend not to see me. Oh, you too.
Jump, you can jump that slap attack. Still have that problem for like 20 hours. That's not a thrust. How many times I gotta tell myself that? I mean, I feel like that was pretty solid, right? I thought that was pretty solid because I made closure. That was not very solid. That's what? Did you see his bar go down like a lot right there? What the dude? That oh yeah, let's go into that soon. Fantastic. I kind of forgot to do a follow up for that. See, I'm wasting all this time trying to get to your sheet. Now your potion's ready. Oh, I don't know why I did that. Can you attack me faster so your sheet isn't going? Nice. Can't do that. Good enough. What? I didn't dodge that? That's a double. Oh, wowzers. Go, 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 go. Come on, block it. Block it. Bitch, I'm already out of heals? If I would have got that, yeah, I probably would have got him. Oh, now your sheet's all over here. Ha ha! That's not a thrust. Dude, if I would have got that counter, bro, I would have got him 100%. 120%. I would have got that 100%. No doubt. I probably would have got him, so.
You pretend not to see me. Oh, you too.
Jump. See, another thing with jumping, right? Every time I decide to jump, I always end up in a corner. So, like, in the back of my mind, I don't want to jump. But I know I, like, need or should. My body's like, hey, you should. I want to do that. See what I mean, dude? I had him, what, halfway? He's done that quickly. That. What? See what I mean? What? This beach resets in like 2 seconds. What the fuck? That's a thrusting attack. Oh, now you want to stack him with that? That's a thrust. Bro, can your freaking bar like go past half? What the fuck? I'm not gonna spend all this time healing and doing other bullshit. Now his bar is gonna go all the way up, or down. I didn't want to go back right there. I don't know why I did that. That was a bad time to heal. That's a thrusting attack. That's another thrusting attack. You're gonna go for 3. Yeah, I really would prefer not to fight you in this corner. So we can just like get away from that corner. Preferably not one shot. So fantastic. Okay, see, now I gotta spend all this time to get my sheep back. Now he's gonna throw all this combos my sheep. Oh, okay. Can't do that sheep. Come on, give me a thrust attack. Give me that thrust. Come on. Come on, motherfucker. Give me that thrust. Come on. Oh! Ah! If there's 2, I swear to God, I'm gonna lose my sheep. Please don't revive on the ground. Please. Mercy. Thank Jesus. Some bitch. See, I got lucky with those thrusts. Well, he did like what? Like 3 in a row, dude? Well, not in a row, but somewhere close to it. Fuck. Stupid ass fucking bone. Hey, what's up, Eli? Oh. What the fuck is this? Since because I was one to dive underwater. Ooh. As well as breathe underwater indefinitely. Ooh. Developed by the founder, moved with those who seek and enjoy themselves, blah blah. Master the breathing technique without a divine dragon cannot be met. Ooh. 1,000? Damn, I'm about to lose that. See, now here's the problem, right? I can't buy anything with one level, can I? If so, I don't want it. Now, if I go fight this beach, I'm gonna die like 40 times and I'm gonna lose it. So like, do I buy this just to not lose it? Even though I'm never gonna use this. Nice fight. Hey, thanks, man. How long did that take me? Well, that's like sub an hour. With a little bit of exploration. That was pretty nice. I feel like these bosses should be taking me a lot longer. I don't know how I'm freaking getting lucky. Weird reflection is good. I mean, I might as well buy it, right? Because I'm gonna freaking lose it anyways. So wait, that goes here then, right? Wait, what was that called again? No, that doesn't go. Wait, where does that go again? Oh wait, that's a passive one, huh? Right? What color is that? No, it's what's it called? Wait, isn't the blue passive and the yellow passive and the blue active? The next boss fight will take you probably a bit longer than this one. It goes nowhere, it's passive? Well, I thought the blue is passive. Or the yellow, god damn it. Oh no, it's the it's the reds, I forgot. Haha, I knew that. I knew that. Sorry. Now, the next boss fight, you talking about the chick? No, I don't mean the girl. Well, I still gotta kill that beach, right? I feel like she's gonna take me probably the rest of the stream, I'm not gonna lie. We can do the girl in the second playthrough, to be honest. Alright. So you're saying next one's a tough boy? Kill that beach. Does it matter up to you? How about, okay, hear me out. How about we try it for a little bit, and if we make no progress, then we'll move on. Like if I mean, I feel like I remember some of the moves, but she has 2 phases, right? Or 2 dots. You have to go anyways. Yeah. I figure we can try it a little bit. I kind of forget the force of sheet, but if I can run it, let's try it out. See the whole same thing with it's freezing. Same thing with you is that your sheet freaking regens in like 5 seconds. Plus the dual is invisible bullshit. It's like freaking millennia all over again. See, why you gotta do all this invisible bullshit, huh? Ah! That's not thrust. Are you gonna get up? Something like this, she's gonna dart towards me. No! It's not looking too good here. Every time I get anything on you, you just go invisible and I can't do shit. No! I don't like you very much. Huh, what'd you do? Ha! Wait, no, it's still the first phase. Ha! Ha! Ah! Wait, no, it's still the first phase.
Why would you hide him
still the first phase. Just deflect. This is just a deflect battle. So is it worth freaking attacking at all? Wait, did I get any coins from the monk? I didn't realize. Whoops. Let her come up to you and deflect. This is strat. When Sai comes, jump step on her. I mean, I can try. See, like, okay, that's another thing that kind of confused me with this game is like, when do I know which fight is like best to only deflect? You just kind of like guess. And the thing is, if I don't attack her, right, her bar goes down too fast to even get a freaking parry kill, right? It's kind of obvious if you just look how fast bars fill up. Well, I mean, I guess. But like, all she does is go invisible though. She gets like hella time to get her sheet back. You know what? Let's try it.
You too. How dare you hide Lord Sakusa from me?
So, I think this is a deflect fight. I'm not sure if you guys are aware. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but this might be a deflect fight. What the fuck? This is actually quite enjoyable, I'm not gonna lie. Damn it. Frick you. Dude, why do I always go right? Why do I do that? Oh yeah, alright. Okay. I'm not making much progress here because I keep missing, but I know I gotta jump. I'm trying, alright? My brain says no though. Okay. 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 I 100% I'll boom that on my booming reactions. 100%. 100%. 100%. I have freaking booming reactions. I'm getting too old. I also boom that on my reactions. Alright, let's get a little reset going here. Can we get a little reset, please? Okay. I'd like to blame my. I'd like to blame my my reaction time. Reaction of a dead goldfish. Can I find the goldfish again? You know what? This I got an explanation this time. It's Dark Souls.
You too. How dare you hide Lord Sakusa from me?
Oh hey. Oh hey, I did it. Oh hey, I did it. Oh hey, I did it again. Oh, hey, I did it again. Okay. Oh, hey, I did it again. Oh, hey guys. Hey guys, I did it again.
Lord, if you would come to me, at least instead.
Hey guys, I did it again. Hey guys, I did it again. Ah. Six for mid. Six for mid. Six for mid. Six for mid. Okay, we're good. That's wrong. That's okay. No. Wait. Calm down. Okay, let's just go reset going here. Okay, we're good. Ah! Oh! Hey! Guys, did it again. Oh! I did it again. Hey guys, I did it again. hey guys, I did it again. Hey, I did it again. Yeah, I did it again. Sekiro on wheelchair. I mean, you can still manually attack, but majority of posture. Okay, is it pronounced posture or posture? Is the T silent? I feel like the T is silent, right? Posture. I think no, the T is not silent. What am I talking about? Yeah, game's pretty easy when you deflect. Lin skill that recovers vitality upon performing a death blow. Wait. Or it just gave me that? Or whoa, calm down, hold on. What? That's the one in the frickin' on the 4th tab, right? That I've been trying to get. Oh, you give me that shit for free? Oh, you just unlocked it for me. I knew that. Okay, so what is called posture? Let's not talk about it. Frickin' phone has not been charging this whole time. By the skill also, Shinobi Breath. Did I pass it up? I think I passed. I think it was the one that you were. I was just gonna. Yeah, it's probably this one, huh? I mean, this doesn't have Shinobi on it, but this has Breath. What hack you got? Yeah, I forgot to tell you guys, installed some hacks. Dude, okay, oh, wait, hold on, 1 second. Can we just calm down for a second. Can we talk about how I just killed 2 bosses in a matter of an hour and 5 minutes? Can we just, can we talk about that for a second? Look, nah. It's pure freaking skill, my guy. Yeah, I think my problem is I still have Dark Souls in my brain. Like, I know I have 25 hours in this game, but I have 100 hours in Dark Souls, dude. It's still embedded in my freaking noggin. No skill all. Damn, both of you guys said luck. That's no. Alright, what the fuck are we doing now? Did we get all 3 of the, we got all 3 of the things, right? We go talk to, what the frick his name is? Or we probably going here. The problem is in Dark Souls you also don't dodge half the time. Well, yeah, see, that's the problem, right? So, I freaked up in Dark Souls, but I'm making up for it in this game. There you go. Wait, how many things did I get? I'm not even paying attention. Okay, that beats didn't give a sheet. Alright. Oh, okay, well, man, at least I can chill with bosses for a little bit. Hey. Unless we're about to find another one right now. Haha. Can we kill 3 bosses this stream? Trying to find out. This sure does look like a boss arena. Are we fighting the 3rd boss right now? Stone found the altar deep within. Oh, this is the stone. Okay. Duh. So when someone appear in the bodies of them who's blah blah step in the mud, touch the blah 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 once blah 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 blah. Okay, sick, thanks. So someone such as such always through this blah blah blah. Okay, it's cool, thanks. Go out to the castle. But there's a twist just in. Oh great. Okay, is there any more shit over here? See, why would that be there? Okay. What was your build? I'm sorry, I didn't see a message. What was your build in Dark Souls? Mine is dual. Hell yeah, that's the only way to go. I tried doing the what was it called, Bagel? The blood katana, whatever the frick. But I guess that ability or whatever it's called got debuffed, so I just ended up doing the 2 katanas. Which going from 2-handing a katana to dual wielding is like light and day for me. I don't know why I didn't try dual wielding before. Because I feel like I would have taken me like 7,000 more hours to do the boss fights if I didn't dual hand. After the next boss fight, we can do stuff for the purification ending. So I hope we get to that today. Yeah, it's depending if we can frickin' this sheet. Alright, which one are we going to? Why are these all grayed out? The twist is that they're locked. What the fuck? So I gotta go to the idol and do the memory again? Most of the time I use Claymore, but now I use dual I'm gonna call them katanas. I never really pronounce the full thing. So what, that one kid frickin' fooked me up? And then just fights you at the top. Fights you at the top. Okay, which actual way am I going then? This way?
Where's the next shift? My watch ended a while ago, but no one's coming to take my place.
Wait, I wasn't such a...
Where's the next shift? My watch ended a while ago, but no one's coming to take my place.
Take your place. The frick you mean take your place? Dude just pissed? Frick you mean take your place? Oh, should I kill you? Wait, is that the guy? Wait, who sees me? Those dogs. Okay, watch this. You guys never seen it like this before. Ready? Oh, I just noticed that was a dog. That's the dog. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that or not. Why are we gonna have this guy? What's up, homie? No, sir, that is multiple attacks. You going for it? No. It turns out you can't do that. I don't know if you guys were or not. Oh, you have a lot of shit. There's 4 to that. God damn, homie. Know why I don't like fighting you now? I definitely know why I don't like fighting you. I'm about to use all my potions in this freaking guy. block that shit, you dumb bitch. I'm really about to use my potions on this guy. I'm about to use my potions on this guy. Who would have known? Ah! Oh! I'm about to use all my potions on this guy. Alright. Please tell me he never respawns ever again. What the fuck? Yeah, it's all still in the same place, by the way. Oh, I thought you said idiots. Idols, okay. See, now the problem is, you think I remember where these idols were at? Actually, these are pretty new. I should know, right? Do I really? Who the frick is that? Do I really have to fight these guys? Okay. Well, you're the. I think you're the one guy I hated, right? Wait, are you friendly? I'm not killing you. Are you friendly, sir? You were just attacking him. Hold up. No, you can shut. Okay, well, I guess I pissed you off, so now I gotta kill you. Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I fat friended the frick out of that shit. Okay, I fat friended the frick out of that. And now I didn't get a chance to hear it. That's the new guy? Okay. So, like, what's their deal? Because he looked like he wasn't coming after me. Because I didn't even swing on him and he was going after the other homie. They're invaders? You fancy. Should I be going here now? Alright. Our brain techniques grants the ability to breathe in the water. Oh yeah, I had this right now. Oh. Okay, tab is to dive? Oh, this just adds a whole nother complexity of frickin' this game. Great. Because Lord knows that anymore, see. Oh wow, you're quick. Oh, I forgot I can be on YouTube for. You wanna freaking test my guy? Give me your scale, bitch. Oh yeah, give me that shit. Yeah, I'm fast as shit up on this beach. Alright, we might as well check if there's an optional shoot over here. Okay, never mind. I think I was supposed to go the other way. Yeah, I guess we'll go this way first. Underwater combat is the worst in this game. Luckily there isn't a whole lot of it, thank god. I feel like I should try and go the other way too. I'm not sure if it leads the same way. Okay, this is back to this. Okay, so that means there should be a thing down here, right? Like right here. Yeah. So do I have to interact with this again to? Okay. So now this is the only one that's locked now. Just double checking. Huh. Okay. Hydrate, thank you, sir. I don't have much more left. In order to headless is more easy than the other headless.
headless. The fuck is underwater headless? Also, what's up, the Deadly Slurper? That's a very interesting name you got there, my guy. Welcome to stream. Thank you for the hydrate. Wait, how do I? Wait, hold on. You're telling me I've missed an enemy because I didn't explore? I feel like I've been kicking ass with exploring. When did I not encounter this guy? English. I was so scared when I first encountered him. In the first stream, there was a sign to turn around, and guess what Nick did? There was a sign to turn around. I obviously turned around instead of exploring. How? Can you clip that sheet and send it to me? First, second stream. Now I'm about to look at my sheet now. Alright, what is there like a set way I'm supposed to go in here? Am I just supposed to run through this whole shit again? Because I ain't trying to kill these punks over again. So this is the wrong way. Alright. Luckily, I think I know how to get over there. It's just over here, right? Okay, you can deal with him. I'm gonna go over here. Now if I go... Okay, this gives me this one. Now if I go past the sheet, that means I'm next to... Oh! Ah! It's right here. It's Alright, see you later. Should I go the same route I did before, or should I actually go... That was great. I played this game with 7% exploring. Wait, is that sheer percentage or what? Okay, well we're already going the right way here, so I might as well go grab the or get my sheet back. Because Lord knows I'm gonna need it. And I'm gonna get to see this guy again. Hopefully. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go. I'm looking forward to that every time I come over here. Oh, that wasn't a thrust? Whoa, 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 wait. Whoa, 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 whoa. We ain't doing all that. Nah, you guys just, ooh, shit. Nah, we ain't doing all that. Totally didn't know what that did. Sounds like something's good over here. Let's open the door. Never mind, I'm gonna open the door. Alright. I'm just gonna go, this way. Powerhouse? Oh my god. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot the technique on how I got over here for some. I think I went all the way around this way though. Okay, or I can just miss sometimes. Hell nah. Yes, sir. I don't know about you, but wherever item this is, you're freaking getting the hell out of my way because I'm getting that shit. Back off. Thought there was an enemy there. We ain't fighting you. Where arms at? That's the wrong way. Okay, watch this start. Ready? Ha! Oh, okay, that didn't work out. Oops. Oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, okay. If you don't mind, I'd like to go up here. Oh, thanks. You mind just letting me go over here real quick? This is obviously where he goes, okay? Oh, shit. Do we get to fight this guy again?
I remember you well.
This is his,
I heard stories of your death, yet here you are.
This is what's his face, right?
What are you plotting, Al?
Plotting.
Wait, is this
I
it?
do no such thing.
Wait.
Now, my lord, I must ask that you accompany me.
This is not what's his face, right?
This old bird has but one desire.
Who the fuck is this?
To protect the divine heir from those that might take his esteemed blood.
So, the dragon's heritage has seduced you too. And there is nothing to
Just
discuss.
out before he's doing here.
Take
What's
your
up with not
leave.
getting any idols there? Nearby. Which one is nearby this one?
I
Oh, it's in that room, huh?
But I'm so stunned by this view. I'd like to take it in just a while longer. I'll leave. it
Okay, wait.
with my
Who the
friend.
frick is this? This is not Kenshiro Mero, right? This is your father? It is? Oh. Oh. Wait. This is the guy that was in the start of the game, right? That chopped my sheet off? Or no, that was that was Genshiro Shimero. When did I meet my father before? Or him, her, it? Don't talk to him for now. You should go get an idol. Okay. If it's in the same place I was before, then it should be like right here, right? Yeah.
It's you,
Oh, I remember this guy, I think.
the divine heir, and Lady Emma. They're being targeted. Can I ask you to protect them?
I'm guessing I was supposed to see this before I went to that guy. Really? You can't let me. Okay, you know what? This thing's still in here. Let's go. Oh, it's. Wait. This is. Oh. Oh my. Oh, ha, ha. Oh boy. Oh. This is the guy I fought in here before, huh? Oh boy. Why you gotta hit me? Why you gotta hit me with this? Now I gotta walk all the way back over here. What was the? How do you get to the other entrance right there? No, there was another entrance. There was two different. There's two different windows, right? Go the same way, but go further down. Yeah. Okay. I was supposed to say because I swear there was freaking two before. Please just freaking grab onto this stupid freaking ledge. I forgot about him. Oh my, please grab onto the edge. Any ledge, please. Just grab one of this one, please. Just thank you. Okay, can you grab one of this one? Okay, let's just go with this one. Sure, okay. How much farther down are you talking about? Is it? It's a window, right? Is it up? Don't tap on some. Well, it's not the layer, right? Because this is where I just was. No, okay, so it's lower than this one because this is where that sheet is. Okay. Where the fuck is the entrance for that sheet? Oh! Oh, yeah, this is the first way I came in the first time. Got it. Alright, now, do we fight these two punks or do we fight, do we talk to the homie? Also, who mentioned about the lore? Was that Bagel or was that Panda? Can't scroll up. Oh, it was Bagel. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you know the answer to that. Now I work my way up to get to the idol in front of the boss you just died to. Okay, but okay, so there's this one beast right here, unless, well, obviously it must be someone different. Never mind, it's the same one. I could just skip you, but where's the fun in that? I'm gonna just leave you there. Okay, can there be some like normal enemies instead of all these freaking like card ass ones? We didn't follow the Lord at all. I mean, it's kind of hard to follow when I only play the game twice a week. And yeah, that's my excuse, I guess. And I guess it's my own fault, but. Sorry, homie. Not really though. I definitely should be useful for these guys. Surprise! Oh. That's the wrong button. No. That's just messed up. That's the thrusting attack. I don't know if you guys know that. Okay, I meant to target the other guy, but I guess that's not happening. Maybe I should focus on, you know, backstabbing one of these guys first. Use puppet. What's this one again? Oh yeah. See, now that would be when I got this, I didn't know what the fuck use this would have. But in this occasion, it's pretty useful. Again, now what's the one I have already again? What's this one? Oh, the blood one? Yeah, okay. I thought that blood one's pretty good too. Puppet is so weird because your puppet can hit you. Okay, well, I don't have to kill this guy, but then again, I'm gonna die a lot, so I might as well just Alright, so I haven't actually tried it, so I'm kind of curious of what it is now. So I guess we can just try on this guy. So, you got that guy, right? It lasts for a longer time than I expected. That's wrong. Round 2. That's a kind of OP a little bit. I maybe should use that more often. That's pretty good. Are you hiding any shield here? Okay, it's not one of, I forgot that icon for the sheets I can do. Okay, now the thing should be right here, right? Yeah. Yeah. Now, is this the main one that I got for? No, the one after this one. You can also break all those walls. Which ones? You talking about the one down there? You kill a ninja guy, then you. Oh yeah, cause then we just go. Yeah, then we go through there. Okay, I got it. I'll come back to me now. Wait, you're the double, right? Yes. So, can I run this guy, run to the left, and stab him in the mouth? Maybe if I was a little better at the game, it might have worked. Is it even worth trying to fight you guys like this? 'Cause I don't see this ever happening anytime soon. Anytime soon. I don't see this happening. I don't see this happening. No stealth, my brother. You are just a ninja. God, no shit. I don't see this happening. Okay, so you said breaking a wall. Are you talking about these walls, or are you talking about the walls? Okay, you're definitely talking about the walls over there. So you sure I can't just run up in there, fire flake, the English? Yeah, that, and then just. Oh no, no, 100% that's possible. 100% that she's possible. Hey, we hit 200. Oops, I just read that. Not much in the bottom, but it doesn't matter. Okay, I got you. I feel like that guy is gonna see me. He's facing towards me. I mean, if this works, it doesn't make much sense because he's freaking looking damn near right at me. Okay, now that makes sense. Okay. What the fuck? How the hell does that make sense? Guess what, my guy behind you? Wait, which one's? Oh. Ow. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How does it feel, Beach? That's like mimicking freaking ducks. That's a triple thing. Ah. Can you die faster? Get the frick up. Oh, how does it feel? Wait, that's a thrusting attack? That was not. Oh wait, you have two? Since when? Did you always have two? What the? Damn, how many? Wait, did you always have two? I didn't see that shit. Damn it, that wasn't a thrust, was it? Shot thrust. Damn, don't know when to frickin' attack you, my guy. You're frickin' all over the place. What the frick is up with these frickin' fast ass frickin' people playing, bro? How is it a thrust? That's not good. I don't know how the frick I dodged that. I don't know how I dodged like 2 of those slash attacks. I'll take it, I guess. What the fuck? I don't know how I did that. Definitely would not have done that without the homie. You ever had 1 bar? I guess I wasn't paying attention. I mean, I never really looked at the top left, I guess. Oops. Oh, sorry. Not bar. My bad. Dot. I just realized what you were talking about. Dot. My bad. Time to rest and get to the top. Wait, where's it at again? Oh, it's right here. I know that. I just got it. I can also get a fat little upgrade too. Haha, I need that shit. Okay, now maybe I can actually hear what this guy has to say now. Because I won't get attacked by throwing knives. They spawn back. They spawn back. Okay, can I talk to this guy without getting?
It's you. Divine heir. Lady Emma. You're being targeted. Can I ask you to protect them?
Got to the same exact point as last time. I guess we're not gonna finish that. Alright, am I missing anything else?
To think you were
God damn, you're
still alive.
That was my design, but the same could be said for you. I was certain you died that night.
The power of the divine heir brought me back.
That's it.
What?
The
Can
divine
I get like a flashback,
heir's
bro?
power.
I don't frickin' remember you.
Dragons
I mean, I know my frickin'
must
father
be
and shit. What
mine.
the boot?
Father.
Now
I need a frickin' flashback.
remember the first rule of the code. As your father, I order you to forsake your master. From this moment, he is your master no more.
Forsake the divine heir.
Listen to me, Wolf. Obey your father's command, and forsake the divine heir.
What the fuck? Okay, I had this option before. Right? With when I was talking to somebody. Who the fuck was I talking to? So this is an option where if I fuck it up then I mess up the whole good run. Yeah, okay. So forsake.
I cannot do as you ask.
You... what? A shinobi? Showing
I gotta
the
fight
likes
this
of
bitch.
passion. Unthinkable. Such a miserable display. Why, boy? Why can't you understand your father's will? Have you forgotten
Sorry?
the Shinobi Code?
A code must be determined by the individual. This is what I've decided. Just as my master did.
I don't think he likes that. Yeah, I don't think he likes that decision. He's gonna freaking kill his own son, isn't he?
Seems you've grown
That was
just a little.
huh.
Have it your way,
Genshiro V2?
young wolf.
This is gonna be a freaking badass fight. I'm gonna get freaking clapped in 2 seconds. You ready? He's gonna have three dots. I'm calling it 3 dots.
Been a while since we
Okay,
did
2.
this. Give me all.
Okay, are you gonna have this? Okay, okay, let's take this. Okay, let's take some time to just analyze what the frick is happening first. Okay, so wait, first thing I'm noticing. Okay, first thing. Okay, so you do have a bar. Okay, for a second I thought you didn't have a bar. I don't know why I held it there. Okay, so you don't. What's? Okay. Uh. That's fun. Okay, so you don't take any posture sheet from the. Okay. Okay. So you don't take any posture from that posture from first. Okay, and you do a lot. Holy, god damn! Holy shit! Okay, I'm learning. I'm learning.
Absolute. Their will must be obeyed.
I'm learning. I'm learning.
Some insubordination.
Okay, I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm learning. Okay, you can't stop that move. Don't go on that. Okay, I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm learning.
Stray dog after all.
Excuse me. Oh, ha. Okay, I don't know if I've read this out loud. So your second playthrough, you have to play at this point and pick the other options pretty quick if you know where to go. So, how many required bosses are there up until this point? All the ones I've fought? Are all these required to get up to this point? Good luck on this one, bro. Stay reverse in the smoke. Snake bomb. Well, I didn't read that until after, so we're good. It's strategy, not spoilers. Okay, so no smoke. You can't. You can deflect the shurikens, but you can't. It doesn't bring his bar up. Same with the what's it called? So wait, he has the throwing sheets, and the frickin' fireworks, or what the frick they're called, and a smoke bomb, and movement. What the boot? And 2 bars, 2 dots. Oh. All I gotta do is every time? It's just like that beach, but this time Dark Soul dodge require. Alright.
Unthinkable. Such a
Oh, okay, I'll have to do is talk to him. Okay.
why, boy?
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
You're... Ow. Okay, so, like... I don't know... I don't know what kind of kill we're going for here. I'm not sure if I should do... I'm not sure if I should go for a bar kill or health kill. I don't freaking know. God, I dodged that? Can't stagger that. I'm gonna take a wild guess. You probably do thrusting, huh? Oh. Ha! Aha! Oops.
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yes.
Oh shit! I wasn't paying. Ah shit! That's straight. Seems like three. I don't know why. It seems like 3 attacks always work out for everything at least. How did you survive that, huh? You gonna tell me you survived that shit? What the? Oh, well, I guess not. I don't know why he held it there. How the hell you survive that? This big ass dude, big ass katana, stops on your sheet and then proceeds to chuck your sheet in the frickin' throat. How the? No, I'm not suggesting that should insta kill me, but what the boot?
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
Okay, I'm kind of thinking out of the strategy for that. I'm also realizing the points of when he does that. Or what's it called in English? Not really finding the points here to attack because all you fucking aggressive little bitch. Huh? I feel like it's gonna take me too long to try and get a frickin' posture kill on this guy. I think it's bad time to heal him. Oh, okay, bad time. Can I get a heal off real quick? Thanks. Nice! Ow! Alright.
Parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed.
Oh, it's showing this. Yeah, I agree. Let me guess, you're gonna do some. Let me guess, you're gonna do some lightning bullshit at the second one, huh? Alright, let me get some water quickly, bro. Un momento. Alright. crap, it's my sister. Hold up. Hold up. Okay. Alright. Alright. How much stuff do you got for this guy? Is it worth doing this every time? I mean, either way, I'm gonna lose anyways, so it's not worth. Alright, so let's just put this out there, right? I don't think I don't think I'm able to kill this guy to this stream. But today's goal is to at least get to his second dot sheet once. That's the goal. Now, if we can meet that a couple times, that'd be sick. If you only get it one time, I am set.
Since we did this, it's your own.
I gotta realize some points on which I can stack. God damn, homie. I feel like I get used to that animation of you freaking throwing your smoke sheet. Ow. Oh, that's a follow up. Okay. I'd appreciate if alright.
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yeah,
Did you just jump on me as I was jumping on you? That was a good fight. I sent you stuff on Discord in case you don't kill it and I don't make it to next stream. Because after this guy, you have to do some other stuff, else you're gonna miss out on a pretty epic boss fight. Ooh, alright, bet. Fuck, I might as well just look at it now just in case I have questions. Wow, I can't read that. Oh, okay, I see it. Okay. I think like number 5 is. See. Did I use my sheets? Pretty sure I did. Yeah, I did. Oh wait, I have. Oh yeah, I should probably use that. Okay. Okay. What's the best thing to use here? Let's use my noggin. I think we know all of his attacks, right? What's the most beneficial? See, now, I was leaning towards the fireworks, right? Or firecrackers, but because I don't know what else to use. Surely you know what's attack. Well, all his attacks for the first. Imagine if you were to get a new sheet in a second. No, I want to talk about the second. We're talking about the first, right? I gotta master the first. Let's see here. I feel like I'm always gonna graduate. Was that the correct word? I don't know. Towards the firecrackers, because they seem to stagger every enemy I fight, which could be like, you know, life or death. He's just a random bro. Surely he won't get a new sheet. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, even know who he was after all. Look, up until you reminded me. All right, that's not my fault. Ah! Oh. Okay. Can you even? Great start.
I want to try and dodge that and see how. Can I just what, pull some games on me and shit? What? That. Oh, okay. See, now I want to be aggressive to you, but then again, every time I do that, I never follow up, and then you just get your sheep back. So the question is this even freaking work? Every time I try and get the combo hits, you always book me up, and then I can't do sheep.
Must be obeyed. I'm sensing some insubordination.
Plus, I don't know when the frick I can actually stagger. Damn! Now we should definitely play don't get hit mode. Damn it. Don't be dumb, Nick. Don't be dumb. Get your sheep back. There you go. Double down my favorite. Probably. I deserve that. Oh! We already met the goal, boys. Alright, let's see what happens. Is there a cutscene?
Wait!
Haha! Let's see what happens. Should I attack you?
It warmed my heart to see how you grow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's just add poison. No, let's just add some poison. No, that's I love that. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, now it just stays there forever. No, not. Haha. No, yeah. That. Yeah. No, yeah. No, yeah. I love that. That's great. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's just have poison. Oh, this is no lightning. I don't know how I got to that point so quickly. I guess I just had to maybe, not fucking suck. Oh, the owl fight? No. How to get a fight? No lightning. Okay, so. Now. Is there a thing that we can drink before the fight to prevent me from getting poisoned? I think this might be the item. It's called skill. Alright then. So who wants to use this stuff, right? This is just easy mode. No. See, who would want to use this? No, but we don't need that shit. We don't need to kill this beach. I just noticed I didn't use any of my stuff the whole fight. I don't know when to use it. Can we
Been a while since we did this.
so let's see how long it takes me to do that shit. Also, to what you're mentioning about R1 spam, not valid because I'm on keyboard. I deserve it. Can you die faster?
Is absolute. There it is. Must be a
What? I didn't dodge that?
I'm sensing some
Great start.
insubordination.
Great start. See, I did good. Oh, let's do that last zone. I'm getting kind of better at like, wow, knowing when to kind of go back for called. Not really actually, but I feel like I'm getting better. How the hell did I have no time to dodge that? How come you don't do any throws and attacks? That's kind of unfair if you ask me. I would have went for the parry there. First off, I didn't feel like I didn't have enough freaking bar. Second off, I suck. Aw, what? It requires so much focus for this first sheet. Okay, so what if I just go all hammer? Oh. Ow! Haha, poison. Wait, nope. Play smart, Nick. You know what to do. Beautiful time to heal, Nick. Absolutely the best time to heal, my guy. I'm proud of you. Okay, wait. Now I'm confused. See. Why is there no poison now? I'm kind of glad there isn't, but why? What happened? Is that because I didn't wait? I don't like this. Chance to get my sheep back? Oh, so it is a by choice. God, you're giving me no chance to get my sheep back, my guy. No chance. At that point, I was just playing by health. No chance. Nah, that was pretty good though. That was pretty good. Maybe it is possible that we kill this guy this stream. If I could just be an absolute god for like 5 minutes. I needed to get that
Enough talk.
upgrade. That gets me the healing after death blow. Boss fights that have more than what's it called, would be so fucking good. That's true. Now it just becomes a game of me struggling to get my sheep back. What the poop? Oh, wow, that was kind of good. I'm not making much progress here because I keep trying to get my sheep back. Maybe we can change it up a little bit. It's just an endless rotation of just not. Ow! What the poop? By being more aggressive, then I get clapped faster. It's like. Oh, nice attack, Nick. Oh, so you do that. Huh. Can't stagger that. Okay. Oh, wait. Shit. Ah. Oh, see. This is not really going too well here. I don't have enough time. Okay. That's not going too well. It's not making much happen here. I don't know what's changed. I feel like I'm. Well, I mean, I can suck, but. I mean, what changed is that I freaking suck, but what else changed? Ow. Here we go.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your
Maybe it's like a certain threshold I need to hit before he doesn't. What's it called? Wow! Alright. Oh, now we're back to the beginning.
I'm sensing some insubordination.
Ow. See, now, I kicked ass in the beginning, and then kind of just went downhill. Ow. Ow. Why am I yawning? Okay, so can we do that again? Except this time, maybe like, I don't die.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
Nice little trade. Okay.
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yet, I'm sensing some
Getting in the corner seems to help me out. Well, there goes this run. Damn, dude, that fucking thing lasts so fucking long, bro. That's not right.
Dude, that lasts so freaking long. Holy shit. Bro, when does that come back? What the fuck? Was that last for like a whole, what, like a minute and a half or some shit? What the fuck? That shit lasts forever.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
Wow. Ah, bad. Timely.
One. The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yeah, I'm sensing some insubordination.
Ow. I'd like to say I pressed shift, but guess I didn't. Ow. Maybe I can just attack you right away. Maybe I don't have time. I should try that.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
Damn, homie. Oh, come. Oh. Come on, my guy. Oh, you beach.
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed.
Oh,
I'm sensing some insubordination.
2 in a row. Wait, you had the animation? Wait, you did the animation for the smoke? Okay, but that was quick. See? Alright. Ow. I'm gonna go sleep. I'm so tired. Honestly, me too. I didn't even do much work today. Mainly today was just freaking counting stuff, but I guess that took a lot of brain power. Alright, good night, Braggle. Thanks for the carry once again, my guy. You're a freaking legend.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
Have a good sleep, my homie. Ah. Dude, that lasts so freaking long. What the frick?
Absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yeah, I'm sensing some insubordination.
How the fuck did I get to this smoke truck a second place? 2 times in a row. I was gonna say that was a nice trade, but
Stray dog after all.
definitely wasn't. Ow.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
Come on, you. That's not the what's it called?
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yes, I'm sensing some insubordination.
That's not the direction that I wanted to go. How long does this crap last for? It's freaking still going. That's not a terrible thing. Okay. Ow.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
Okay. I mean that could have been a nice trade. Nice trade. Don't know how I dodged that. Don't worry, it didn't do anything to exposure. That's not the what's it called?
Absolute. Their will must be obeyed. I'm sensing some insubordination.
Oh, dude, why the fuck did I get so tired all of a sudden? What the hell? There's no shot. It's because of what the hell? It's freaking Monday. What a book.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah, baby. One back straight. Not that though.
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yes, I'm sensing some insubordination.
Oh, call me a stray dog? That's fucked up.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
That was gonna be a nice trade, but
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yeah, I'm
what?
set.
Did you just 360 that bomb? How the fuck is that fair? How the fuck is that fair? Ow. Not gonna lie, homies, we might be having to freaking end like 15 minutes early or something, cause dude, I just got a big ass wave of freaking being tired. I have no reason why. Just randomly. I mean, I know maybe it's because like I haven't done sheet for the past some odd days because of Thanksgiving and all that. Now that I'm working again, I'm like actually tired, but holy shit. Freaking love it right now. I did dodge that.
Absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yeah, I'm set. Becoming subordinate.
Alright, note to self, can't stagger that. You can't stagger that. I don't know why they don't just put me in the
Enough
fight.
talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
It's the game where I knows my decisions. Do I got one you said? What? What? Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa.
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed.
Oh, is that my boy, brother? What's up, brother? What's up with him, man? That's not good. That's good. Oh, waha. The fuck did I do that? God damn, homie. What's up with it, brother? How's it going, man? One time, I hope that's it. How have you been? I've been alright. Same old crap. Just working and streaming and trying to get my freaking IT certification. Being tired of sheep. Poop. I had Thursday and Friday off of work last week. So going from, what is that, 4 days of not working to
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did
working, I guess, is kind of a little bit, you know. And so we talked about it 6 months ago when I first started playing a couple of weeks. Oh yeah. Playing in shitloads since then. Oh hell yeah. I'm guessing you're still liking it. Are you playing on the same server? Wait, no shot. It's been 6 months. Have you really? No, I got a new job a year and 11 months ago. Wait, I can see that. See. Wait, has there been 6 months? Wow, it's been 7 months. Wow, damn, dude, where the frick did the time go? What the frick? Damn, homie, that's freaking crazy. Oh shit. My son was here as when I was a cadet. What do you do now after amazing? So I'm working in construction right now, but in the meantime, while I'm working, I'm trying to get my IT certification or certifications to get the frick out of that shit. Because company I'm working for, haha, I don't even know what the frick they're doing. Like, damn near everybody in the whole freaking facility knows that. So like everybody's trying to like always get the frick out of there, but God damn, homie. Oh, that was. Oh, that was just a bad combination. A combination of things there. It's not like no. Oh, that was pretty close too.
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. I'm sensing insubordination.
Yeah, I checked the log. Did that not count? I checked the logs. It was like 7 months ago. So I was wondering what the frick did the time go? So yeah, the past 3 to 4 months. Oh, was it? No, it's been more than that. It's maybe 3, 4, 5 months. I've been doing like these like online videos of like IT work and stuff. I took a test. Like a month ago, and I was like very, very close to passing, but they gave me another voucher to take the test again for free, so it's like sick. So I have 3 years until that stuff expires, so I'm kind of chilling. I'm in a rush to take it because when I was taking it, I was kind of in a rush because the stuff that I was watching was old material, but like I already started watching it like 4 months before it expired.
So I was like, eh, fuck it. I might as well just fucking finish it. This guy's frick crazy, bro. What the food? I'll just stay on the ground. Ha! Got me. Let's go. Why didn't work as well? Yeah, how you been? How's life? Why are you trying to move towards a wireless, or have you tried getting in into No Pixel? That's still a thing, right? Do they require you to be like a content creator or some shit?
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
Oh no, shot that hit me. Oh, that was almost bad. That was bad. Ow. Not making much, not making much happen here. I don't know why. I don't know how I freaking kicked your ass the first couple times. There's no shot I was more aggressive than I am right now. Oh, dude, why did I do the freaking shit? Oh, you had the range for that? Guess so. I've been good. College is stressful, and the reason I'm trying to go to a server is one, better RP, and two, I've seen what they have to offer on their police sheet, and it's way better than what I have. Ah, okay. So wait, you mentioned that yours... Yeah, okay, so you're on a public server? Oh, okay. How many good... I mean, there's not many good wireless servers out there, is there? Because remember when I was trying to, like, somewhat get into GTRP, I really couldn't find that much. Hope I got one up in my app in like 2 years ago. I wrote 980 words, holy shit, from my background. And each question was about 400 words? Jesus Christ. How many freaking questions were there? God damn. What the fuck?
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this.
I mean, the server Discord has 12k people. Oh, okay. That's pretty solid. I'm already dead. Okay.
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yet, I'm sensing some insubordination.
Oh, that was just bad timing. Oh, that was kind of a good dodge. Let's try it. I would love to be able to heal if you don't mind. Or not. Okay, that works too, I guess. Ow. I have tried No Pixel. I didn't get in. Don't want to try again right now. I want to just take steps at a time. Okay, I got you. I'm sure that there's a bajillion requests for No Pixel anyways. Pretty sure that server is full like 24/7. It was probably like 5 hours, dude. It's a good ass server though. I've kind of seen it grown. Like I used to watch
Been a while since we did
You used to watch Summit play it like a while ago. Oh wait, that didn't hit me? Wait. Oh. Wow. Please, please, please. What, that didn't hit me? Oh. That didn't hit me as much as it could. That did not stagger you. Okay.
The parent is absolute.
She just packed, no way I'm getting it.
Their will must be
I mean, what's
obeyed.
shot though?
Yet, I'm sensing some insubordination.
Oh, what? Nah, nah, nah. That's just a freaking second, okay? Nah, nah, nah. That's bullshit. What the fuck? What else has happened in the last 6 months? I completed playing Elden Ring. I'm not sure if I was playing Elden Ring 6 months ago. I think I was still playing Dark Souls 6 months ago. So I finished and completed Elden Ring. And now this game is on the agenda. And then after
Been a
this,
while since we did this.
probably going to be finishing Bone Labs and then moving to all the Assassin's Creeds. God, I can sit here and parry for days. But the fucking bar is just not locking anywhere. Sit here for days doing this shit, bro. Oh, I don't like that. Ah. Oh, bad timing. Aw. Dude, it's still active? I didn't dodge that? Dude, that's still active after all that time?
Their will must be obeyed. Yes, I'm sensing some insubordination.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, good. I was a good survival for, you know, quite a while actually.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your all.
Wow. Okay, nah, let's just focus on that one. Fuck that fight. First two
freaking hits I get down on you, we ain't doing that. That was terrible. I don't know how the fuck I didn't dodge that. What the poop?
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did. Give me your all.
Let me just stop unintentionally trying to dodge that move. I want that one. Dude, that was coming too. What the? Ooh, I can tank a lot of that. Fucking be aggressive, Malchucker. I'll be aggressive, bitch. Fucking. Raid. Really? Not really.
One. The parent is absolute.
I don't know how that didn't reach me.
Some insubordination.
Ha, my timing. Oh, wow, that was dumb. I didn't notice my stance was off. Fuck, I wasn't paying attention to that. I heard this. I feel like I heard the sound too. My brain was like, "Hey, look, you should still just dodge." See. Alright, come on, man. Get me to the second phase again. Come on, Beach.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did. Give me your all.
I think I can dodge that at all. Tell my cards this is what you call bullying. I don't really appreciate it that much. What? Ah. I guess I was kind of betrayed. Bitch, son of a bitch. God damn it. God damn it. God.
One. The parent
Fuck
is
up faster.
absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yes, I'm sensing some insubordination.
Frickin' no way I'm doing this. Boot is that. Oh, I didn't get the second, nor did I get any of those parries.
Dog after all.
Ow.
still don't understand the process of making me go through those two things.
Been a while since we give me your own.
Damn it, I don't want to dodge that. Oh my god. That did not stagger you. I am kind of upset. Or did that?
The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yeah, I'm sensing something.
That is, I'm dead. I did not pop the heal off. I am dead. Okay. Dude, how did I get those freaking two phases? I was like damn near back to back. What the fuck did I do? I don't even think I was playing that aggressive, but fuck, maybe I was. What the? Ooh.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this. Give me your own.
Oh wow. Tried to get up and parry that. Probably not the best combo to do, but it worked. Aw, you punk. I did not land my shot. Ow.
Parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yeah, I'm sensing some insubordination.
Ow. Alright, last 10-15 deaths have been nothing but crap. We're making zero progression to anything happening here. What happened? Zero progression. What the? Oh, hey, what's up, Chase? Bro, you freaking missed it, bro. The first freaking hour, we killed freaking 2 bosses. It was freaking lit. Oh, would you look at that? You actually let me heal. What a freaking nice guy. What? So that what was? Now you just don't want to check her? No, that's cool. No, that's cool. Ah! Yeah! Bitch. What? Oh. Wait for it. Watch this. Heal. Yeah! Oh. Yep. Yeah! Where's Kevin Hart when you don't, Luke? Wait, that's...
I'm sensing
Yeah. Oh, nice little trade. Only one problem though. I died because of it. Ha! Ow. Bro, I've died 20 times to this guy and I've only gotten close to killing him maybe like 2 times. Well, I wouldn't even call it close either. Just I had a chance. There you go. What a great start. I'm pressing the buttons. I don't know what more you want of me. In the face. You are not stuck on. Yeah, shut the fuck up, parent bullshit. Oh, and now I lost. Run away. No, what if we just don't even pay attention to our parry? What if we just go after this and then somehow recover for every single thing he does? Maybe not. Maybe we can't do that. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should do that.
Enough talk.
Been a while since we did this.
I always in the mouth. No, what if we just continuously go hammer here? Literally say, frick you, and just frickin' go in the whole time, dude. Aggressive sheet, don't give a fooks strategy. See how this works out. So far, not really doing sheet. Okay, funny part about that, I didn't even press shift, I pressed space. How the frick did I roll? Things go your way, sometimes you just don't ask questions. Like that sheet. Go for it, go for it, go for it. I went right into it. Now I'm freaking dead. Not stagger you. What the? What kind of move was that? So it seems like when I do nothing but be aggressive, it works out more in my favor. But then again, I die faster. Well, I should say faster. I should say I'm more likely to die. It's like, for instance, right now, I'm getting clapped. But at the same time, I'm also clapping him. So it's like a... Okay, now I'm really dead. No, I'm just... Yep. Now I'm finished. So I have... Yeah, I deserve that. No, it's cool. No, that's cool. Alright, what time is it? I got enough for like 2 more runs. Come on, let's just get 2 solid ass runs, end the stream on a good note. Even though today's stream was extremely successful. I mean, I feel like, because I suck, but freaking let's just get bomb ass run. Here we go.
Been a while since we did this.
Back to our old strategy of being aggressive as sheep. Good ass run, there we go. Frick your stupid ass stagger bar, dude. Don't even worry about that sheep. You should probably go though.
Here we go. Ah! I missed. I didn't miss that one. No. Here's the plan here. We're just aggressive. Nope. Ah! 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 Yeah! Don't know how that still hurt me. No, I'm not gonna ask questions. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Playing the strategy if I don't give a sheet. Here we go. I'm about to lose my sheet any second now. I'm about to lose it any second. But I'm freaking wrong with it.
One. The parent is absolute. Their will must be obeyed. Yes, I'm sensing
These guns that staggered. What happened to my run where I was kicking your freaking ass? Now all of a sudden I'm getting freaking slapped. Oh hey! Ah! Oh hey! I killed him. Oh no! I didn't stagger. I didn't freaking stagger him. I'm upset. I'm upset. If that would have staggered him, I probably would have lived for like another 5 seconds. Alright, you know what? Today's stream was good, bro. We freaking clapped 2 bosses. Almost clapped 3. Technically, we did clap 3 because that was the double boss. But that doesn't count because I played that sheet hell sheet. But